you spoke about the ICE opportunity, which of course continues to be the space that you operate in, and the future, which is the electric mobility or whatever else technology comes our way. Now, you've always been circumspect about this switch to EVs. You've always maintained that it is going to happen over time, it's going to be gradual, and hence Maruti has also taken a much more conservative approach when it comes to making the transition from ICE to EV. Is that likely to now, is the transition now, at least within Maruti, likely to accelerate, given the adoption is starting to pick up?
We are, of course, going ahead with EVs, but I believe EVs in the initial years will still be for that upper market, which is the, let's say, European-style market. The younger market, the Bharat market, the old market of India, that class will not be able to afford EVs at the current price ranges. If some drastic changes in technology take place which bring down the cost, it's a different matter. If the current technology remains, it won't happen. In addition to which, we feel that to really bring down the carbon footprint in India, you need to adopt all the existing technologies, including hybrid and CNG and ethanol and biogas, because our electricity is still largely coal, and it doesn't actually bring down the overall carbon footprint, as it would say in Norway or someplace where it's all hydroelectric.
Yes, and we are starting to see adoption picking up, but as you point out, it is largely restricted to metros and, of course, more in the two-wheeler space at this point in time. But, you know, speaking about the future and given the experience of the past with the Maruti Suzuki joint venture, now you've got Toyota as a collaborator as well and as part of this sort of tripartite agreement, so to speak now. How has that changed things, and what are the lessons that you take from the last 40 years into this new relationship?
I think Toyota coming into this has very major significance for us. One, it gives us access to a number of new technologies. For example, this hybrid technology, which is now coming in with the Grand Vitara, is not a technology which is available anywhere else. But we will be introducing this technology, and it brings down fuel consumption by 35–40%. Toyota also has access to the bigger, more branded kind of car technology, so we can get those cars manufactured for the upper segment. So the
Lexus and
up to the Lexus quality if necessary, but in between also the Camrys and the Prius for the hybrids, and those cars are also available. So we will have Suzuki giving us for the Bharat market, and from Toyota, we'll get the technologies for the upper market. So that will give us the ability to cater to the full range of the market. And we will be able to find whatever we need to export. Toyota is looking for India to do some kind of production for their export markets also, on the smaller end of the market.
Okay. So what is this going to mean, Mr. Bhargava, then in terms of future investments, in terms of future expansion as well? You're going to be heading to Gujarat later this week. So what can we expect?
So as everybody knows by now, we have got the next site at Kharkhoda. And if all goes as planned, it'll become one of the largest single manufacturing sites anywhere in the world. 1 million cars are not manufactured in many places at one site. And I don't think Kharkhoda is going to be enough, of course. I think in another 3, 4, 5 years, we'll find we need to go somewhere else also.
Okay. So at this point in time, at least for the next 5 years, you believe that this capacity addition should cater to the needs and the demand? 1 million
in Kharkhoda, I think, will be useful. Well, I guess that would be so. I don't think it'll grow faster than that at this moment.
You know, just take me through from setting up your first plant here in Gurgaon to now, of course, pouring into Gujarat and other parts. What have been the big learnings there in terms of creating that ecosystem of building communities around the plants? Because that, I know you're a big believer in the fact that you need to get the community involvement.
we have seen that in Gurgaon, when we work with all the people around us, the villages, and treat them as part of our extended family, it greatly helps our operations. In Gujarat, we are doing the same kind of thing, and we built this large hospital there and a school there in that area, and that is open to all the people in that area. And I think a big industry like a car industry should not remain just confined to making cars. I think it has a role in developing the whole area. After all, I think part of the Gurgaon growth and its prosperity owes itself to Maruti. And I think the same thing is going to happen in that Mehsana area in Gujarat and in this Kharkhoda area in Haryana. I think we will spread out and have other things coming up, and then people find the whole ecosystem changing. And it leads to growth all over.
Given what you just spoke of, do you then believe that policy decisions like reservation and mandatory jobs for locals, are those counterproductive? Because anyway, that would be the catchment area for you, wouldn't it?
It's not going to apply to us because the level is high enough.
Yeah.
And some of these things are required in our political system. And we have to find a way where we can talk to the governments in power and see that their needs are met also. And we can work within whatever we decide. And that's what's happening. I think governments that way are very cooperative. They understand what we need, they understand what they need, and then we come to find a common mutual ground.
You know, as I pointed out, I think the Maruti story is undeniably the story of Make in India, at least for a large part of the last 4 decades. As you look ahead, and now you've got focus on Atmanirbhar, you've got the focus on PLI schemes, etc. How have you seen, through the prism of what you experienced with Maruti over the last 4 decades and what you're seeing today, do you feel a little more confident about the Indian manufacturing story now?
I think things are changing and changing for the better very fast. I think what has happened in the last 7, 8 years in the ease of manufacturing has gone a long way. I don't think we have yet completed the process. One of the areas where I now have a strong desire for change is in the way the civil services are trained and equipped to deal with specialized sectors like manufacturing or health or things like that. And I think there's a reform needed in the civil services, that this business of everybody in the IAS can do every job. I think that needs to change. I think there needs to be a very specialized group of people who deal with sophisticated areas like manufacturing and policy for manufacturing and competitiveness, who understand what this is all about and who don't come with no background and no understanding. I think that needs to change. That'll be a major step forward in making us competitive. At the same time, I think our entrepreneurs, all our big industrialists and young industrialists, need to understand the Indian environment and see from the Maruti experience what really works well in India.
So if I were to ask you to crystallize that into 3 things, what really works in India?
I think we have to carry all workers with us and make them partners in what we do. In fact, the whole story of Maruti, in one sense, is a story of a partnership and trust and partnership. I think we need to change the environment in the whole industrial area to trust and partnership. I think we need to understand that it's not an industry alone which can become competitive. I think it's the whole ecosystem of industries. And I mean, everybody starting from raw materials to logistics to transport, who all have to get into the system and who all have to try and help the other to become more competitive. It's a national competitiveness thing we need to do. That's the second thing which we need to do. And if we do these things and concentrate on the supply chain which becomes part of this, I don't think there's any stopping this country.
Well, let's hope that there are no speed breakers along the way. But Mr. Bhargav, let me end then by asking you, what is your favorite moment of having been at the helm for so long, sir? You know, what is your sort of favorite memory that you cherish?
I'm not sure if there's one moment which I cherish, but you know, new things keep happening and you get excited about something new which is happening. And in the past, there was a launch of a car which became so successful, or seeing your cars in large numbers in some hill station when you went, you saw every third car was, I mean, every second or 2 out of 3 were Maruti cars. That used to be very exciting. I used to count the cars as to what is Maruti, what is others.
Do you still do that?
I did do that.
But even today?
Not today, no. Now it's...
Now it's going to be much harder.
Now there are other things happening. And even today, when you see some of the new things which are happening and the new technologies, I think all of those still create excitement.
Do you have a favorite of the many models that have been launched?
All the new models which come, like, for example, I'm now looking forward to the Grand Vitara. I intend to get one as soon as I can.
I think there's a long list.
Of people who want, I know.
Who want the Grand Vitara.
I have a slight advantage, Shireen.
I would imagine, sir. I would imagine. But thank you so much. Once again, we wish you the very best of luck and appreciate you joining us here in our studio for On the Record. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, that is the chairman of Maruti Suzuki on the 40 years gone by, and more importantly, what the road ahead looks like. We will take a break here on the Record, but there's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with more.
Thank you.